Welcome to the Doctor's Clinic Call. Your host, DW from Denver, Colorado. DW, take it away.
Hey, everyone. This is Daniel White of DW, and Rob is right. I'm in Denver, Colorado right now. And so we are doing so many things. And what's a blast is that right in the midst of Christmas, we can stop in all the shopping and learn some things that's going to help people that we run into the next few weeks, the next few months, the next few years get extraordinarily off the charts healthy. And so tonight we're getting to the subject. It's kind of one of my favorite subjects because everybody either has experienced that or has someone they know that is experiencing some challenges in a couple of these areas. And one of them is, getting your weight under control. And we got Dr. Kurt Fisdick with us tonight. And, Doc, before we jump into it real quick, just want to say hi to everybody.
Hey, hello, everybody.
There you go. That was the doctor, ladies and gentlemen. That was the Dr. Kurt Fisdick, in case you're wondering. But what happens is this, and this is where Dr. Kurt Fisdick's at. This is where I'm at. This is where Mary Ann's at. And in Tom Maurer and junior, senior, a lot of us, we want people to be in a position to where they get healthy. And then as you get yourself healthy, then you can start attacking maybe some of the chubbiness that you have on there. But a lot of people may want to prematurely dump weight. Well, we're going to find out about that, weight loss versus being sick and going through things and so that's the difference. Doc, pop into it tonight. Tell us what's on your heart. What are you thinking when it comes to weight loss and what we're doing with Sisel and some of the things that you've experienced in life?
Well, DW, the first thing that pops in my mind when you say it like that, and for everybody that's listening to the call, those of you that are listening to the recording, none of these calls, DW and I haven't even talked today. So, DW, the first word that pops in my mind right now when you say that, fen-phen.
You got it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, did you hear what I said? Fen-phen. What do you think of that?
Well, I tell you what, our government thought it was so great, they put people on it and then they killed over dead with it, brother.
Yeah, that's exactly it. A friend of mine was actually the doctor he was the first doctor to put the fen and the fen together, and he's a medical doctor up in Minnesota. He's in Florida now, but he put fen-phen together, and he had his patients on it for a very short time, and he said, holy cow, this works too good. Something's going to be wrong with this. This isn't good. And he took all of his patients off of it, and none of his patients, thank God, had any kind of health problems at all. And he realized that what happens is if you trick the body into losing weight too quickly, what it does is it burns the weight in places you don't want it to burn, and that was part of the reason that they had all the heart disease with fen-phen. And so one of the things that I talk to people about is that, don't worry about the weight as much as you worry about the health. And it's kind of like the old question, which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? DW, which one came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, I tell you what, I'm kind of hoping that the chicken did because it could make more eggs, but I just don't know.
Right? But when you talk about weight loss, which came first? Did we get fat and gain weight? Or did we get fat and then get unhealthy? Or did we get unhealthy and then gain weight? And most of the time people say, oh, you got fat and then you gained weight, and it's like, no, wrong answer. Because a good healthy body will crave the foods that it needs. It'll crave the nutrition that it needs, and you won't get overweight. And so really the answer to it is that in this case, what happens is that a person gets unhealthy, and then they start putting the weight on. And so that's what I try and tell people is that, okay, let's look at the underlying cause. Let's try and figure out what's wrong with you, and then let's start taking the weight up. And the products that we have with Sisel, oh, man, I'll tell you what. You've been working with these products. You tell me, do we get people healthy with these?
I'll tell you what, it's amazing. When you talk about getting people healthy, Dr. Kurt, we seem like we go back to this every single time with the sequoian. But the fact that it can mildly cleanse the liver and the kidneys and the small intestines and help you when it comes to gut health and getting people healthy, dealing with people that have massive constipation, loosening things up, people have constricted and compacted valves, giving them some relief. We're not claiming any cures in healing, but we're talking about getting people the relief that they need. I've seen this over and over and over and over again. And I could give you several stories tonight of people that we've helped out.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is one of the things that you just said, it actually led me into the next thing that I wanted to say is that, so I've been working with weight loss. I actually one branch of my clinic in my chiropractic clinic was a weight loss clinic. And we help people, we help people lose, like Jimmy O'Keefe. We had people losing 200 pounds. One guy actually lost over 300 pounds. And what we did is we worked with getting the health first, and then we worked on the weight loss. And so one of the things that I talk to people about, and you and I have talked about it on probably every call that we've had on the Doctors Clinics call, we've talked about this whole thing with toxicity. And so one of the studies, DW, is that where does most of the toxins go? Well, most toxins are fat soluble, right? And so all these toxins, they get deposited in the fat cells, and what ends up happening then is that when you go on one of these weight loss plans that merely just get you to lose fat, to burn fat, well, guess what? When you melt that fat, where do those toxins go? Well, they go back into the system. Well, one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is that when it goes back into the system, guess what? They're actually more dangerous the second time around than they were the first time, because during the phase 1, phase 2 detoxification that takes place in the liver, what happens is that the toxins are super concentrated. They're super concentrated, and they're contained in the fat cells. So your body is holding them there for a reason, because it's a safe place. It's a safe place to put all that garbage. So then all of a sudden, here we are, we're releasing them back in the system. They're super concentrated toxins, which are poisons, and it actually poisons the system. And so what ends up happening is that we start having these power failures in our system. It starts knocking out the power grid, more or less. Think of it as a system like that, trying to give people analogies. But so what ends up happening is that a lot of times I'll talk to people and they say, yeah, I lost that first 10 pounds pretty easy. Well, yeah, because that's water weight. And then they'll say, but then after that, it never really came up. Well, let me take a look. Oh, look at that diet you're on. You've been on a toxic diet for all of your life, and so all those toxins are contained in the fat cells. Well, guess what the body does? DW, what the body does is the brain says, don't burn that fat, because if you burn the fat, those poisons are going to be re-released into the system, and it's going to cause a whole heck of a lot more problems than being fat. And so the brain is smarter than that. It's smarter than most of us, and it's smarter than our doctors for sure. And it says hang on to those fat cells, because that's where the toxins are. And so you'll see people that they can be on these weight loss programs, and they don't lose weight, and they don't lose weight, and they don't lose weight. First thing I ask them when they come in my clinic or when they talk to me is I start asking questions. I say, okay, so, do you have this or this or this? And I'll start talking about toxic overload things. How often are you going to the bathroom? How many times do you have bowel movements? And they'll, like one gal, I remember this in my clinic. She was having a bowel movement once a week. And I said, holy cow, no wonder you don't lose any weight. You're retaining it all. But what ends up happening, DW, is that all these toxins stay in there. And so if you do have weight loss, guess what? With most of the weight loss plans that are out there, what they're doing is they're triggering their body to lose weight, but they're losing lean muscle. They're losing lean muscle. And when you're trying to lose weight, guess what? You don't want to lose the muscle. What you want to lose is the fat. And so I start talking to people about, here's the things that we got to do. We got to start looking at, losing the toxins. Before you can go on a weight loss program, let's get you a little bit healthier. Maybe add some fucoidan into the system. Pull some of those toxins out. Start doing an ounce of this a day. Maybe we'll add the body shield. Start pulling some of those heavy metals out. Maybe we'll do the super detox program and kind of cleanse the gut. Maybe we'll change the diet. And DW, a lot of times, I'll tell people, I say, let's go on a gluten-free diet let's try that just for a month. Give up the gluten for 30 days and just see what happens. And you'd be so totally surprised what happens to people is that they start dropping the weight like crazy. They start going to the bathroom. They start having super energy, and it's just amazing. And I know you concentrate a lot on what's in the products, but you take a look at the Siseling. One of the things that a lot of people, they look at the protein right away. Well, there's only 12 grams of protein in there. My kids, they're all into bodybuilding and that, and they said, "Oh, Dad, there's not enough protein in there." And I said, "Well, we have 12 grams of protein, but it's protein that your body can use. You can utilize it right away to build lean muscle. Versus most of the protein shakes, they give you twice as much protein, but you can't use 2/3 of it. So you're actually getting only 8 grams versus our 12 grams, which you really want. And then the other thing is that based on the daily values that's set by the USDA, we're supposed to be having 25 grams of fiber in our diet, dietary fiber, and the average American gets 12 to 13 grams of fiber. So here's a way that you can get an additional 6 grams of fiber in one of these shakes. So if you're doing 2 shakes a day, boom, you just knocked your fiber intake back up to what the daily values are. With DW, that's kind of some thoughts that I was just having right away in my head and throwing them by you there.
Well, let's just back up just one or two steps, because I want to have that discussion about the protein but also and what I'm going to ask you about the protein is that you get X amount of protein right now, and then it's delivered a little bit later as you go on down the road. In other words, I think it's dumped on your body over a 7-hour period, if I'm not mistaken. And then, but I want you to talk a little bit about gluten. Some people may not even know. A lot of people go, "Oh, is it gluten-free? Is it gluten-free?" But kind of like, what is gluten? What does it kind of do? Or just a little bit of a definition there for one of the new business partners that might need a little information on that.
Right. Well, gluten, it's a natural occurring substance that's found in wheat products. It's found in a lot of the other grains, oats and things like that as well. There's gluten that's found in corn. But back 100 years ago, the amount of gluten that we had in our diet was so little. It really didn't cause any problem. And what ended up happening is they started adding it to food. And so we get so much gluten in our diet. And what ends up happening is it triggered an autoimmune type of disorder, and which triggers inflammation. And gluten, when you look at the gluten at the gluten summit that took place, I believe it was a year and a half ago, October of 2000 and maybe 2014, so not quite a year and a half ago. And at the gluten summit, they said that now 100% of people are sensitive to gluten, where back when I graduated from chiropractic college 28 years ago, it was less than 20%, maybe 25% of people had gluten sensitivity. So it's gone from 25% to 100% of people are sensitive. Well, what happens with the gluten then is think of it really simply like this: it blows holes in your mucosa in your gut lining, and it allows incompletely broken down proteins to be absorbed through the gut lining, and then your immune system says, hey, that's not normal, and it really starts to attack it. And that's what really triggers the autoimmune disorder, because then your immune system starts to look for other things that look similar to the incompletely broken down proteins, and all of a sudden you start seeing people being sensitive to this and that, everything under the sun, and so it's can turn into quite a dangerous thing as you develop that leaky gut and dysbiosis of the digestive system, and really, like I was saying, all of a sudden then your mitochondria, which are the powerhouses, they're the powerhouses of your cells. All of a sudden they get damaged, and the DNA in your mitochondria are some of the most highly susceptible to stress like that, and so it can really cause some problems. And like I said, once you start damaging the DNA, It can trigger some mutations. It can trigger some damage where all of a sudden now you start seeing, like cancerous type growths and things like that. So now you got to go back and you got to repair all of that. And meanwhile, if you're still taking a toxic diet, the standard American diet, you're just causing inflammation. You're causing all these things to happen. And like you and I talked about on the doctor's call when we were talking about heart health, we were talking about how the brain then, it tells the liver, well, let's make some new cholesterol. And then, being all wise like we are, you can tell I'm a little bit sarcastic, DW, that, being all wise that we are, what do? Oh, we start throwing some statins in there. Let's throw some statin drugs in there, and let's disrupt the body's normal way of dealing with this stuff, the protective measures that your body has in place. Yeah, we're going to take and throw some drugs in there that are going to cause even more damage. So DW, that's kind of my rant on that, I guess.
Well, and it's pretty interesting, and people just need to kind of wrap their brains around. And here we go again, Doc. I'm coming from being a farm boy, just country's cornflakes, and raised on the farm. Well, we did a lot of wheat farming, and then I worked for a major farmer going through high school, because I went to a private high school and had to pay for the school, so I went and worked in the summer to pay for school. And with that, he farmed 10,000 acres, and it was wheat. There was a day in America where wheat had 40% protein in it, and now it's down to less than 7% protein. And because gluten issues were not a big deal back in the day, but they are a huge deal now, and they make a big impact right now in people's lives because the protein's not there. And your body needs X amount of protein, so I loved your explanation on the protein. And, we do have a sizzling shake that is vanilla, where you can add a lot of different fruits and combinations with that. And we love to take our vanilla one and put a couple, doses of cinnamon in it, because that helps blunt sugar levels as well. Because, Doc, a lot of people don't have a weight problem, they got a sugar problem. And so when you get the gluten out, and then I'm telling you, try this. Try to walk away from sugar. Now, you need a little sugar to break down the protein, and which you may be getting ready to get into some of those dynamics as well. But when the sugar breaks down a little bit of the protein, so Tom has the right amount of what we need in our shakes to break down the protein. But there's another component that goes along with what we refer to as Sisel Pops, but it's an ingredient that helps cut addictions. So if we throw the sugar out, we get rid of the gluten and some of the grains and starches that are out there, and you start eating healthier when it comes to some greens and proper proteins. Get just a little bit of exercise going on. You're setting yourself up with the trifecta of putting yourself in a position to get healthy. The weight will come off when it comes off. And Doc, I love what you said. Toxins are fat stores toxins. And so we're in a situation where we're getting rid of those toxins at the same time. Your body's in resistance. Now, one thing I wanted to say about that, there's a couple greens in life that I took a major test and found out what I was really allergic to. And when you're allergic to something, it'll store it as fat because it'll try to protect you. So fat's the thing that protects your body from some of these other toxicities that are out there, even though fat's toxic itself. And so getting rid of that, displacing that, moving that out of the system is what we have the ability to do when it comes to our sizzling vanilla and our sizzling chocolate shake, which is, Doc, that just launched, yesterday, and people could order it today, I believe, as far as the chocolate goes. And so, but talking about toxicities in the fat cells being released, flowing through the liver, this is why it's really important. Take that time, work on getting yourself detoxed, getting yourself healthy a little bit, maybe even go through a little bit of a super detox. That's another little product that we have that is a game changer for people. And so back at you, Doc.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, DW, is that, a lot of people don't realize this, but the doctor, and I don't recall his name right off the top of my head. I'm gonna look that up tonight. The doctor or the researcher who discovered vitamin C a long time ago. Linus Pauling did a lot of research on it, but he wasn't the one that discovered it. The doctor that discovered it, he said, look, oxygen is necessary for the health of the cell, but hydrogen is actually more necessary than oxygen. And where I'm going with this, I mean, DW, I know you know where I'm going, is that if you don't have hydrogen, you can't power the cell. And so hydrogen and oxygen, that's the fuel for the fire, and it gets that mitochondria going, and it gets it so that your body burns the fuel as energy. Now, when we talk about the tricyclic acid cycle, which is really what happens in anaerobic exercise, it burns food as energy. It burns glucose as energy, and that causes production of hydrogen. But it's the oxidation phosphoric acid cycle that really is what happens in an aerobic type of an organism like the human, and we need hydrogen for that. It's powered by hydrogen, and so with all the stuff that we have going on, this diatomic hydrogen is so important. You add that to the whole mix with everything that we got going on. I was in town today, stopped at one of these oxygen bars, and I was talking to the gentleman that owns that today, and I said I got to bring my system by and show you what this thing can do, and add that to the oxygen bar, and holy cow, you're going to have something here that your clients are just going to be raving about. And back in the day, we used to get hydrogen from the food that we ate. We got it from the proteins that we ate. We got it from the fruits and vegetables that we ate. We got it from the water, but now it's just not there. With all of the heating of the food, the processing, and the milling, and all of that, all of the hydrogen is just processed out of the food. And so how can the power plants of your cells efficiently burn energy? That's what happens is the body just says, yeah, we're just going to make some more. We're going to put this fat over here. We're going to store it because maybe one day Kurt's body is going to figure out how to burn it efficiently. So we'll just store it over here for a little bit. Well, that rainy day never comes, and day after day, year after year, I just keep making more and more fat. And it just comes on a little bit at a time, and a lot of people don't think about it, DW, is that, what if you only gain 1 pound per month? Well, you don't think about it. I mean, you jump on the scale and you go, well, last week I was 200 pounds. Today, this month I'm 201. Well, that's not so bad. And then the next month you jump on the scale and it goes from 201 to 202, and you go, well, that's not so bad. But by the end of the year, you're up to 212. And then the next year, you're up to 224. And in 5 years, holy cow, you're up to 248 pounds. And that's only gaining 1 pound per month. But everybody says, well, I'm going to go on a weight loss program, and I'm going to try and lose this 48 pounds, and I'm going to lose it by April. I'm going to start in January, and I'm going to lose it by April. Well, I mean, come on. It took you 4 years to put it on, but you could take it off. You could take it off in 4 or 5 months. And they just aren't being realistic with themselves. They'd have to be on a negative calorie diet to make that happen. And so that's why I really like the stories like Jimmy O'Keefe, where here we have Jimmy that, I mean, how many months has it taken him to lose that weight, DW?
Well, I think he lost a couple hundred pounds, and it's taken him 2.5, 3 years.
2.5 to 3 years, exactly.
3 years now, yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, and you look at him. I mean, the guy is keeping it off. He's not putting a pound back on. Then you take somebody like, in Ray, I don't know if you're on the call, but you take somebody like Ray. I mean, he took and he lost all that weight in just a short amount of time. Bippity boom, it was gone, right? And like Ray said on the call last night, a couple months later, he put it back on, right? Because his body didn't get healthy. It didn't take the weight off the way it was supposed to, and that's where the problem came in. Where you'd look at what Jimmy's doing, that's the way to do it. I mean, that's the role model right there. That's the guy that we need to be looking at and going, okay, Jimmy, what did you do? Right?
Absolutely.
And every one of us can do it. I mean, you can do it. I can do it. Dan can do it. I mean, you look at Fabian. Holy cow! I mean, there's another one, another role model. He took it off over a period of time, and he's keeping it off.
Well, and there's just a plethora of people that are getting results with what we're doing, but it's become a lifestyle versus a diet. It's become a lifestyle versus I'm going to drop so many pounds so I can be beach ready, And then these some of these exercise programs that are out there, they absolutely bury you physically to where the average person can't really keep up and do it. And then you've got our system with Koga Fitness, and I watched John coach young people and middle-aged people that were in shape and out of shape, and he just said, make the movement as good as you can, don't go nuts, and just start doing some things for just a few minutes a day, and then add a few more minutes on it. And that's what we're talking about is losing weight in moderation, exercising in moderation, and but doing it wisely, not just getting rid of the gluten. Man, Doc, that was some great insight there, just to make sure people got a grip on how to get rid of the gluten and stop that, and then putting them in a situation where they can, your body goes, oh, okay, I can go back to a set point. So let's say you're 250 pounds, and for a lot of years you were 215. I can go back to that because then it resets to that set point. And then you drop down to 200. Then it's 195. Then it's 185. Wherever you need to be, depending on your height and your muscles that are being built. And I'm telling you, Doc, I wanted to say this to you. We had one of our buddies that we were working with, and she had she has a MS and Lou Gehrig's combined, and in just really bad shape, and she was gaining no muscle. And you met her at one of the boot camps, a lady by the name of Annette, and she ended up starting building her muscle back because of our sizzling product. So when people talk about there's only 12 grams of protein, it's what the protein does and how much of it is active that makes a difference. And I love you bringing that out as well.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is that when you take a look at the science behind this, is that when you look at the average shake that's out there, the protein shake, there's more protein, this and that, but if you can't use it, it's going to cause problems. And when people are trying to lose weight, they'll go on a weight loss plan, they'll lose 20 pounds of weight, but when they lose 20 pounds of weight, 5 pounds of that with the average weight loss program, 5 pounds of that is lean muscle. So they're losing, for every 20 pounds of fat, they're losing 5 pounds of lean muscle, and you're going, that's not what you want. And what's nice about our Sizzling is that when you take a look at the science behind this, for the person who's losing 20 pounds of fat, they're gaining 5 pounds of muscle. And so a lot of times I'll see people that they'll say, I actually didn't lose any weight right away. I stayed the same, and I just tell them that's exactly what we want, because what's happening is your body's building that lean muscle, and then all of a sudden watch it come off because the lean muscle starts to burn the fat as energy, and it starts to fuel the system the way that it's supposed to. And that's exactly what you want to have happen.
I absolutely love it, Dr. Kurt. What a good call tonight. Is there anything you want to say in closing before we put things down?
Yeah, you hear me talking a lot about which came first, the chicken or the egg. And in this case, we're talking about which came first, the health problems or the weight. And I'm going to use myself as an example, and then I've got a guest that I wanted to bring on too to kind of share the same thing. But for me, DW, I've never been, that skinny guy. I've never been the guy that, that with the six pack or anything like that. But, it just never happened. But I was never to the point of being really where I thought I was obese. And then after my motorcycle wreck, I gained a good 75 pounds after my motorcycle wreck, and most of it was because I just sat there. 2 years in a wheelchair, my metabolism went down. I don't eat a lot of junk food. If you came over to my house and you went through my pantry and you went through my fridge, you'd find a lot of salad stuff in there, a lot of fruits and vegetables. you'd find a lot of good food. But the problem with it is that, when you consider that the average American, the average male, we're eating 2,000 calories a day. And 2,000 calories a day, if you have the average metabolism, I'll just call it the average metabolism, that's the weight to support a 185-pound man. Well, I'd love to be 185 pounds. I mean, DW, wouldn't you love to be 185 pounds? But we aren't. So then you have to ask your question, if I'm eating 2,000 calories a day and I'm not 185 pounds, I'm more than that, then what's happening? Well, what's happening is that my metabolism is so low that I'm actually not even burning the average amount of fat. I'm not burning the average amount of calories that a 185-pound person burns. And again, so we start looking at the whole idea that, there's a problem here. It's a health problem. It's not that the weight is the health problem. And when they listed obesity as a disease, I went, no, don't do that, because it gives all the drug companies, it gives all the doctors in the world the right to list that as the primary diagnosis when it's not. It's a symptom. It's not the primary diagnosis. And that's where the problem comes in. And I use myself as a prime example. And I'm really I feel healthy now. In the last year, I've really felt like my health has come back using the Sisel products. Guess what? My goal is in the next few months, I want to start taking some of that weight off. And I'm going to be realistic about it. I'm going to be, talking to Jimmy, and using him as kind of a person as my role model. He and I have been talking. And that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to take it off sensibly. But I was talking to Alan Hordell today, and Alan, as you know, has gone through a lot of health challenges, and he was a hockey player, and he kept his weight up. But Alan, if you want to just hit *6 real quick, and just in 90 seconds or so, share with us what you've noticed since you started getting some of your health back.
Hey, good evening, guys. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you.
Hey, well, thanks very much. And I won't take much of your time, but it started with my wreck of a snowmobile back 9 years ago. In fact, it was 9 years ago last week, December the 16th, that I had my wreck in the snowmobile. And yeah, I played professional hockey and then played a lot of hockey after senior hockey, and I was in pretty darn good shape, and I always kept track of my weight and stuff like that. And when I had the wreck, Dr. Kerr is absolutely correct. Sickness is what causes weight, and when I got sick from the wreck, I spent several years. I went through nine surgeries, and then into an open heart surgery, and then just last week I actually had to have a pacemaker put in my chest to counteract a couple of problems we had when my open heart surgery came along. And thinking about that, I actually gained 60 pounds of excess weight over the course of those years because I was sick. My body was sick, and when I started to using the Sisel products and started using the micellar protein, the Siseline, I started losing some weight, but it really in the last six months, I really took control of, because my body was coming back together. I was using the Eternity, the Spetramax, the Vacoitin, and other products from Sisel, and my body was really starting to respond very nicely. And so when my body started to respond, I started to lose the weight, and I've lost about 32 pounds now, and now I'm going to go about another 20 pounds, and I'll be good. But just like Dr. Kurt was talking after his wreck, and he's come around to what he's at, and now my body's starting to feel healthy again. I'm starting to feel healthy throughout my whole body, even though we had that little upset 2 weeks ago where I had to get a pacemaker put in. That pacemaker only works if my heart rate drops below 60. The rest of the time, my heart's in perfect shape and running as it's supposed to be all the time. So in saying that, you have to really understand what Sisel products are all about. What they have the ingredients to put the body back together the way it's supposed to be, run. We don't cure anything. We don't prescribe anything. All we do is put the ingredients in. Tom R puts the ingredients in that our body requires in order to put our things. And trust me on this one, folks. This micellar protein, this Siseline, is absolutely the bomb of the bomb. It really is. If you want to start losing weight in 2016, like everybody wants to start doing when it's New Year's, well, guess what? This is going to be incredible. And with the chocolate shake coming out, the new Siseline coming out this week, man, oh man, it's absolutely incredible. So I just want to share that with each and every one of you, and thanks to DW yourself. And I don't know if we if DW could go down to 160 pounds, there would be nothing left of DW. But I know he's lost a lot of weight as well. And Dr. Kurt, I know you have, because I was just with you in Mexico. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be an incredible 2016, and we're going to make a lot of people healthy using the Sisel products. So thanks a lot, and a Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Alan. You know, and the thing about chocolate, DW, I just want to share this, and this is my final thought, everybody, is that, you know, as a doctor, and this is real science, chocolate stimulates the serotonin receptors in the body, and it really, in women especially, it creates the same effect as being in love. The nice thing about chocolate is it lasts a lot longer. Back to you, DW.
You are a mess, man. You're going to put me back to me on that. We do a lot of science and stuff, and we get to have a little bit of fun as well. And you can get your chocolate on and lose a little weight while you're doing it. And that's put yourself in a position to where you could have one of the most potent products that will help you get your muscles lean, that will help extract the gristle out of your muscle so that you can get healthier quicker than you've ever done it. And muscle does dictate metabolism. So when you're looking at this product and you realize that the protein is released and time released and helps just concentrate on building the muscle, you're not going to be disappointed. You're just not. You're not going to find another product out there that does what we can do here with our sizzling chocolate and sizzling vanilla. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the Doctor's Clinic. We appreciate you being part of the call, and we'll be here at the same time next week, same place, same time, and with a whole new topic and a lot of fun. All right. Thank you for being part of it. This is
Merry Christmas.
Over now, and from all of us, a big Merry Christmas. And Dr. Kurt, big Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for all that you're doing, my friend.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you and Alan. Bye-bye.